Today's lesson is air travel complications. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to continue talking about air travel complications. It's the era of post-COVID, okay? When we had the COVID virus threatening our lives a few years ago, nobody could go anywhere. We were all stuck. And nowadays, it's more or less under control and the doors are open. We're free to travel and lots of people want to travel overseas. But unfortunately, sometimes it isn't as smooth as we'd like it to be. We might encounter some air travel complications, as Gina found out when she was late for her flight and when she had a piece of luggage that was too big to carry on the plane.
Exactly right. Two fairly common problems that you might encounter as you're traveling, especially if you travel a fair amount. Today, though, we're going to turn our attention to a couple other slightly more unusual problems, but problems nonetheless, and problems that could cause some serious issues in the case of our last one. So we're going to be dealing with a dietary difficulty while on a plane, having food that doesn't quite meet your needs, and then even more serious, an in-flight health issue, getting sick on an airplane.
No.
I'm lucky to say this has never happened to me. I've never been on a plane where someone said, "Is there a doctor here?" or something like that. I've been sick on a plane, but I've never actually fallen sick on a plane. And that, it definitely could be a little bit scary because, of course, you're so isolated. You can't get yourself to a doctor or a hospital because you're on a plane. So let's find out what happened in those situations with Evan. He is our kind of unlucky traveler. But first, he's dealing with a dietary difficulty. So let's find out all about that right now.
3. A dietary difficulty. As a flight attendant serves Evan's meal, he notices that it doesn't cater to his vegetarian diet.
Excuse me, I believe I pre-ordered a vegetarian meal online, but this meal clearly isn't vegetarian.
I apologize for the inconvenience, sir. Let me check your reservation information. It shows that you didn't request a special meal. I'm afraid there might have been some mistake when you ordered online.
Is there any way to swap the meal now?
Please wait a moment. Let me serve the other passengers their meals, and then I'll check to see if we have any vegetarian options available.
Great, I appreciate it.
大家好，我们来看第一部分中的单字 dietary。它是形容词，意思是饮食的或是有关饮食的。例如 The patient was given dietary supplements to aid her recovery. 那名病人服用膳食补充剂以加速康复。或者 Tina took her guests' dietary preferences into account when creating the menu for the dinner party. Tina 在制定晚宴菜单时考虑了客人的饮食偏好。接下来是形容词 vegetarian， 指的是素食的，不含肉的。举例来说 Tyler asked the waiter if the restaurant had a vegetarian menu. Tyler 询问服务生餐厅是否有素食菜单。再来介绍名词 inconvenience， 它的意思是不便或是麻烦。例如 The road repairs will only take 3 days, so the inconvenience is temporary. 修路将只需要3天的时间，所以不便是暂时的。又或者是It was a major inconvenience when my car broke down last week. 上周我的车抛锚了，这给我带来很大的不便。另外介绍相关形容词 inconvenient, I-N-C-O-N-V-E-N-I-E-N-T, inconvenient, 表示引起麻烦的或是造成困难的。例如 It will be inconvenient to delay the meeting until Ryan is available. 要延后会议直到 Ryan 能来参加，将会带来麻烦。或是Living in the countryside can be inconvenient if you don't have transportation. 如果没有交通工具的话，生活在乡村可能会很不方便。下一个看到动词 swap， 这个单字有交换或是以点点点替换的意思。可以说 In the science fiction movie, the two friends swap bodies. 在那部科幻片中，那两个朋友互换到对方的身体里。又或者说 Can we swap shifts at work tomorrow? I need to attend an important event. 我们明天工作能不能换班？我得参加一个重要活动。
Okay, so part 3 of our lesson for today is all about a dietary difficulty. Dietary has to do with your diet, the kind of food you eat. That's what it means here. And you might have some dietary restrictions, for example, if you have some medical conditions like diabetes or kidney disease or whatever, you'll have some dietary restrictions, some kinds of food that you can't eat or things that you should eat more than others. But here it's a dietary difficulty, especially if maybe you want to have a meal on the plane that's designed more for people with diabetes. It won't have so many carbs or whatever. That would be a special meal that you need to arrange ahead of time.
That's right. And of course, people also do it for religious reasons. If you're vegetarian, that's not a religion. But if you're Jewish, you'd have a kosher meal. If you're Muslim, you might ask for the halal meal and things like that. So in this case, it's a dietary difficulty that Evan is facing. What's going on? It says, as a flight attendant serves Evan's meal, he notices that it doesn't cater to his vegetarian diet. Okay, yeah, that would definitely be an issue for a vegetarian. This comes after the flight attendant, that is the person who works on the airplane, serving the passengers and taking care of the passengers and responding to any problems in the cabin, not flying the plane, but doing everything else to make sure that the people on the plane arrive safe and happy at their destination. Flight attendants can be male or female. We used to call them stewardesses and stewards, but of course flight attendant is a great modern term because it covers both men and women and everyone else. So the flight attendant, the worker on the plane, is serving Evan's meal along with probably everyone else on the plane's meal. As Evan peels back the foil or takes the top off his little dish of food there, he notices a problem. The food in the dish, or the meal he's been served, it doesn't cater to his vegetarian diet. So he is a vegetarian. He does not eat meat. Okay, so he wants to have a meal that has mostly vegetables, maybe some fruit, some beans, things like that, but no chicken, no pork, no beef, none of that stuff. But this meal does have chicken or pork or beef or something, so it clearly doesn't cater to his vegetarian diet. To cater to is basically to meet the needs or the requirements of a customer or someone you're serving or someone you're kind of taking care of. If you have an older person living at home, you might have to have a home that caters to their needs. You wouldn't serve spicy food at meals. You might have a special bathroom that allows them to use it safely and easily. It's kind of set up or arranged or planned in a way to make someone happy, to satisfy all their special needs or demands. And this meal with meat does not meet the needs of Evan, since he is a vegetarian, a person who doesn't eat meat. And so he says something.
Yeah, he says, "Excuse me, I believe I pre-ordered a vegetarian meal online, but this meal clearly isn't vegetarian." Now, many years ago, I used to be a vegetarian myself, and I realized that if you want to have a vegetarian meal on a flight, you need to make the arrangements ahead of time. You should tell the travel agent, or nowadays, if you're booking a flight online, you should make that specification when you're ordering your ticket or when you're making your reservation. And he believes that he made this arrangement online, but he has received his meal and he's opened up the tinfoil there and he sees a big slab of chicken there or fish or whatever, and he knows that that is meat, and that certainly is not a vegetarian meal. Yes, this meal clearly isn't vegetarian. What are they going to do about this?
Yeah, that could be a problem. And as Roger said, this is something you should arrange before the flight, days before. Often when you book your ticket, weeks or months before, it's not something that you request on the plane or even that day when you check in. They have to organize these meals very carefully. So this is a problem, or as the flight attendant says, "I apologize for the inconvenience, sir." An inconvenience is a problem. Usually not a huge problem, a fairly small problem, but it is going to make your life a little more difficult, a little more stressful, a little more inconvenient, or not smooth running. So this is a small problem, sir. I apologize. Let me check your reservation information. So at this point, the flight attendant gets out a tablet, a little computer, and starts tapping through it and finding Evan's seat number, his name, his reservation information. And a reservation is when you plan ahead and reserve reserve something, you see the verb to reserve, to keep on the side for later use. That is in the word reservation. When you go online months before the plane and pick your day, pick your time, even maybe pick your seat and your meals, you are making your reservation. You pay your money, you show up months later at the airport, and they're like, yes, we know that you're on this plane because of your reservation. Same thing you might do for a hotel on a holiday. Same thing you might do for a restaurant seat on a busy day at a popular restaurant. Call ahead, plan ahead, have them set it aside and keep it for you so that you can use it later.
Right, and the flight attendant has her tablet and she checks it and sees, my information here says that you did not request a special meal. Something happened. Maybe you pushed the wrong button or we lost the information. Either way, we don't have any indication of your having made this reservation. It says or shows that you did not request a special meal. I'm afraid there might have been some mistake when you ordered online, so now they have to figure out something to do. I remember years ago I forgot to do this myself and asked them if they had a vegetarian meal, and they just happened to have one. It was luck in that particular case, but most of the time you do have to make those arrangements ahead of time. And Evan has a question. Is there any way to swap the meal now? To swap means to trade or to exchange, and this situation might be similar to the situation I had in the past. Yeah, do you have a vegetarian meal somewhere that somebody's not eating? Maybe they skipped their meal or something, or maybe the pilot requested a vegetarian meal, but they can sacrifice it for a passenger or something like that. Yes, is there one just kind of floating around somewhere, and I can just exchange this one for that one?
There you go. Switch A for B. The flight attendant says, please wait a moment. All right, just hang on. Let me serve the other passengers their meals, and then I'll check to see if we have any vegetarian options available. I think that's the best hope Evan has. Maybe after they serve or give out all the other meals to all the other passengers, they'll end up with one extra vegetarian meal sitting there in the warmer, and so Evan can have that. I don't think it's really worth going around and asking other people, hey, you're a vegetarian. Do you want to eat chicken today? Because I don't. Most people would not want to swap with Evan if they already had the vegetarian meal planned, but maybe he'll be lucky enough and there'll be an extra one. Great, he says. I appreciate it. Any little help that they can give him is appreciated, is something he's thankful for, because otherwise he'll have to eat the bread, the salad, the dessert, maybe the little fruit cup, but he won't be eating the main meal since it's not vegetarian. All right, we're going to be back with more in part 2 of our dialogue, an in-flight health issue. Things are getting serious.
4. An in-flight health issue. Later, the flight attendant passes by Evan and notices that he looks unwell. Excuse me, sir, I couldn't help but notice you seem unwell. Is everything all right?
Actually, I am feeling a bit under the weather. I'm dizzy and cold, and I've got a headache.
I'm sorry to hear that. Can I offer you any assistance? A blanket to keep warm, perhaps?
Thank you. That would be great.
Here's the blanket. I've also brought you a cup of hot water and some peppermint oil that might help soothe your sickness. Would you like to try it?
Yes, please. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome. I hope you feel better soon, but please let me know if you need anything else.
第二部分我们来看到 assistance 这个单字，它是名词，意思是协助、帮助或是援助。例如 The firemen found the missing victims with the assistance of search dogs. 消防员在搜救犬的协助下找到了失踪的罹难者。或者 After his surgery, Jethro was unable to get out of bed without assistance. Jethro 手术后需他人协助才能从床铺起身。另外补充相关名词 assistant, A-S-S-I-S-T-A-N-T, assistant, 指的是助理或是副手。我们可以说 The dentist's assistant took me to the X-ray room. 牙医助理带我到 X 光室。最后是动词 soothe， 这个单字的意思是缓和、减轻疼痛或是抚慰使平静。例如 Drink some tea with honey and lemon to soothe your sore throat. 喝一些加蜂蜜和柠檬的茶可以缓解喉咙痛。最后一个例子 A warm cup of tea can soothe the body and mind on a chilly evening. 在寒冷的晚上，一杯热茶可以舒缓身心。
Okay, this is our fourth conversation. We talk about flight complications, and this one is entitled An in-flight health issue. So if it's in flight, it's during the flight when the plane is traveling from one place to another. And yes, sometimes things might happen. In the airplane, I think the actress Carrie Fisher had some kind of health problem on a flight from London back to the USA. I think actually she actually died on that flight. But indeed, this can happen sometimes. Maybe even pregnant women will give birth on the plane or something like that. You might have an in-flight health issue. And later, the flight attendant passes by Evan and notices that he looks unwell. So yes, flight attendants are checking on the well-being of their passengers, and she happens to notice that Evan does not look well. Maybe his face is turned green or he's bending over in discomfort. Yeah, something's wrong with him.
So the flight attendant checks on him and says, "Excuse me, sir." Maybe taps him on the shoulder, leans over to talk to him. "I couldn't help but notice you seem unwell. I couldn't help but see that you kind of look sick. You're making those noises. Your face is pale, as Roger said. You definitely don't look okay. You look like you're physically uncomfortable. Is everything all right?" So this is just a good job by the flight attendant to check on Evan. And he says, "Actually, I am feeling a bit under the weather." So no, the flight attendant was very right to observe that. He is feeling a little bit sick or a bit under the weather. This has nothing to do with weather. This has everything to do with your physical health. If you're a bit under weather, you got a cold, maybe you feel the flu coming on. It's not like you broke both of your legs in a car crash. No, that's definitely more than under the weather. But it's just, I'm feeling like I'm starting to get sick. I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. And then he describes his specific conditions or symptoms. "I'm dizzy and cold, and I've got a headache." Okay, well, that sounds like, yes, it could be a flu coming on. He's a little bit dizzy. The room is spinning. If he had to stand up on one foot, it would be a real challenge for him. He feels cold, he's shivering, and he's got a bit of a headache. If he had pain in his back or his joints, that would definitely, for me, be a sign of a fever, too.
Yep, he's not feeling well. He's uncomfortable. And the flight attendant says, "I'm sorry to hear that. Can I offer you any assistance?" Here, assistance just means help in the noun form. So, yes, can I help you in any way? Can I offer you some help? Can I offer you some assistance? A blanket to keep warm, perhaps? This is a suggestion, maybe because you feel cold, because you might have a fever or something. Maybe a blanket would help, and of course, they do provide blankets on international flights.
Thank you. That would be great, says Evan. He's happy for any kindness that the flight attendant can offer him. Returning with the blanket, so the flight attendant goes away, gets a blanket from one of those storage lockers and brings it back. "Here's the blanket, and this is very kind of them. I've also brought you a cup of hot water and some peppermint oil that might help soothe your sickness." That's very kind. So they bring him something to drink, some hot water, and also some peppermint oil that might help soothe your sickness. This is not wonder drug that's going to make you feel so much better instantly. No, but it might help to soothe your sickness. To soothe is kind of to ease your sickness, right? It won't take it away, but it'll make it less uncomfortable. If you have a bad headache, you might take a painkiller pill that you can buy at any drugstore. That will definitely soothe your headache. It won't get rid of it. It might be too serious to really work well, but it will definitely make things a bit easier. In this case, what will soothe him is peppermint oil. Peppermint is a plant. We often have peppermint-flavored toothpaste, peppermint-flavored gum, and breath mints to give you that fresh, minty feeling in your mouth. And for some people, especially, I guess, if you have a cold and it's hard to breathe, peppermint oil might also help to soothe your breathing problems. Would you like to try it, says the flight attendant, because some people might say, "No, that stuff doesn't work for me," or whatever. So they do ask.
Right, so maybe this peppermint oil will soothe his sickness. It will probably gently calm that problem. It will make it more easier to deal with. And would you like to try it? Would you like to try this peppermint oil? I wonder if that would work for air sickness. This does happen sometimes when you travel. Some people are more susceptible to this than others. You might get car sick. like if you're riding in a bus on a windy mountain road, or if you're flying in an airplane and it hits a lot of turbulence, then you might have air sickness. But here, in any case, she offers this peppermint oil for him. Yeah, would you like to try it? And Evan says, yes, please. Thank you for your help. Indeed, that might help him with his problem, whatever it is.
Absolutely. I think that will. And even if it helps him fall asleep and relax a little bit by soothing some of his symptoms, that would also help him get better. Well, the flight attendant seems to have done as much as they can at this situation. Of course, they're not a doctor. They don't have medical facilities. They can just try to keep you comfortable until you arrive at your destination, and then you can get yourself off to see a proper doctor or go to the emergency room if it's serious. So the flight attendant says, you're welcome. I hope you feel better soon, right? I hope some of these things, the hot water, the blanket, the peppermint oil, will help to ease your symptoms or maybe even return you to health. So I hope you feel better soon, but please let me know if you need anything else. The flight attendants are there to help you, to give you assistance if you have problems. There's that little button right on the side of your seat or right in front of you where you can call the flight attendant and they can come and help you out. That's really a button you should only use if, like Evan, you're having some kind of emergency situation. But if you do press that, the flight attendants will be along, maybe to bring him some more tea or another blanket or a pillow or something like that. But we hope he feels very well very soon as he gets towards the end of his journey.
Yep, and we must appreciate the efforts of flight attendants. They are highly trained, and of course they're taking care of hundreds of passengers on those international flights, and surely some of them might feel uncomfortable during the flight, and flight attendants, of course, are trained to take care of those situations. Bravo for them. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes our Chinese teacher, Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。在第二部分的对话里，空服员注意到 Evan 看起来不太舒服，问他一切都还好吗？ Evan 回答 Actually, I'm feeling a bit under the weather. 事实上我觉得有点不舒服。那我们知道 weather 是指天气， under the weather 从字面上来看是指受到天气影响，那这个片语意思其实就跟 unwell 差不多，用来表达身体不舒服、身体不适，通常不会是很严重的疾病，那常常会搭配动词 feel 一起使用。好，那我们这边也补充两个跟 weather 有关的用语。第一个要补充的是 fair weather， 这个 fair 是拼作 F-A-I-R， 然后跟 weather 之间有连字号。那 fair weather 从字面上来看是天气晴朗的，好天气的。不过当我们说 fair weather friends， 其实是用来指这个酒肉朋友，不能患难与共的朋友，也就是那些在你顺遂或发达的时候就跟你做朋友，当你患难或落魄的时候就会消失离你而去的人。好，第二个补充的是 weather the storm。Weather 在这边当动词，它有平安度过或承受住的语义。那 weather the storm 字面上是指承受住暴风雨的袭击，那是用来表达度过难关、平安度过危机的意思。那对话里面的 Evan 他感到头晕目眩，浑身发冷，还有头痛。空服员就问他能不能为他提供任何协助。文中用到了 assistance 这个名词来表达帮助、协助或援助。它的动词是 assist。那我们来学习它的字首字根。好，看到 S-I-S-T 这个字根，它可以表达站立、放置或者是处于某种状态。那在 assist 这个字当中，它的字首 A-S 是来自 A-D 表示朝向，那么字根 sist 表示站立。当我们朝向某个人，站在他旁边，随时提供协助，用这样的方式，也许可以联想到 assist 它有帮助、协助的意思。那我们也顺便补充两个有相同字根的单字。第一个补充的是 persist， 它的字首 P-E-R 表示完全地，那么 sist 表示站立。那如果从头到尾都站在那里，完全不动如山，屹立不摇，这样应该可以联想到 persist 它有坚持不懈或者是持续存在的意思。 第二个补充的是 resist， 它的字首 re 表示反抗，那么字根 sist 这部分表示处于某种状态，那合在一起处于反抗的状态，我们就可以想到 resist 它有抵抗或抗拒的意思咯。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天单字吧。
Vegetarian. Eva thinks a vegetarian diet would not only improve our health, but also reduce our carbon footprint. Inconvenience. The sudden schedule change caused a great deal of inconvenience to all the attendees. Reservation. Making a reservation in advance ensures you'll have a table at your preferred time and date. Swap. Pete decided to swap seats with Alice because she felt uncomfortable near the window. Assistance. Kelly's assistance made it possible for me to overcome the challenges.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.